There is a bottle of ginger ale, and on its label a little bearded gnome tips a foaming glass toward you. He looks like something from a fairy tale, out of place among the crisp modern colas. But in Detroit, he is a native son, and his story begins in the years just after the Civil War. The man behind the myth was James Vernor, a young pharmacist working at a downtown drugstore. Like many druggists of his day, he tinkered with flavored syrups behind the counter, blending ginger, vanilla, and spices in search of the perfect tonic. He mixed something promising into an oak cask and set it aside. Then history intervened. When the Civil War called, Vernor left for service, and legend says he left that unfinished cask sealed in his shop. 4 years passed, the war ended, and the young man came home to Detroit and his forgotten barrel. When he pried the cask open, the story goes, the ginger ale inside had transformed. The oak had mellowed the sharp spice into something deep and smooth, warm and golden and gingery all at once. Vernor called it deliciously different, and the slogan stuck for more than a century. Historians gently caution that the barrel tale may be more folklore than fact, a bit of romance polished by decades of retelling, but something in it rings true. Vernor did age his ginger ale in wood, and that patient oak mellowing gave the drink its unmistakable, faintly caramel bite. In 1866, he opened his own soda fountain, and Detroit had never tasted anything like it. The fountain became a downtown institution, a marble and brass gathering place where Detroiters lined up for a glass drawn cold and sharp. It is remembered as the oldest surviving soda flavor made in America still sold today. Behind the counter, the ritual was a small piece of theater. A soda jerk would pour the thick syrup, then blast it with carbonated water so fiercely that first-timers flinched. The famous burn of a fresh Vernor's would tickle your nose and make your eyes water, a sensation regulars came to crave. The fountain on Woodward Avenue grew into a Detroit landmark, later moving to a grand spot along the riverfront. Generations of children pressed their noses to the glass, watching the machinery of syrup and fizz. For many, a trip downtown meant, above all else, a stop for a Vernor's. And there, presiding over it all, was the gnome. Sometimes called Woody, he embodied the old barrel legend, a woodland keeper of the agging oak casks. He appeared on labels, on delivery trucks, on painted signs and store displays, a whiskered mascot who made the drink feel enchanted. The company leaned into its own fable. Advertisements spoke of ginger ale mellowed in wood, of a secret recipe guarded like treasure, of a taste 4 years in the making. Detroit believed it and loved the drink for it. Vernor's was not just a soda, it was a hometown legend in a bottle. The gnome also became folk medicine of a kind. Detroit grandmothers swore by warm Vernor's for an upset stomach, heated on the stove until the fizz softened. A sick child in Michigan was as likely to be handed a mug of steaming ginger ale as a spoon of syrup. It was comfort you could drink. James Vernor tended his creation carefully through his lifetime, and his son carried it forward, keeping the family name on every bottle. For decades, it remained a proudly local product, brewed and bottled in the city that adored it. To drink a Vernor's was to taste Detroit itself. But the 20th century pressed hard on small regional makers. Ownership changed hands, then changed again, folded at last into the vast portfolios of national beverage giants. The slow oak-agging gave way to faster, modern methods, and the old rituals quietly receded into memory. The great riverfront fountain, too, could not last forever. The counters were cleared, the fixtures sold or scattered, the marble gone silent. What had once been a bustling downtown ritual became a story told by people who remembered when the oldest soda fountain slipped into the past. Yet the gnome endured, redrawn and refreshed, but never quite retired. He still turns up on cans and cases, a small nod to the barrel that may or may not have waited out a war. In a world of interchangeable brands, he remains stubbornly, wonderfully strange. For Detroiters scattered across the country, a green can of Vernor's is a portable piece of home. They order it by the case, ship it to relatives, hunt for it on distant shelves. One sip, and the burn rises to the nose, and suddenly it is childhood, and the city and the fountain all at once. The soda fountain is gone, and the oak casks with it, and much of the old ceremony survives only in photographs and fading recollection. But the gnome keeps his post on the label, guardian of a legend Detroit was never quite willing to give up. Deliciously different and deliciously theirs.